So this is our vision. Again, two and a half years ago, new CEO joined the team. As part of that effort, executive offsites, what's the vision statement, what's the mission statement, what's all that stuff look like? We got real serious about who we are, what we're about, what mattered to us as executives on the team, and came up with our vision statement here. I apologize if it's a little dark, but I'll read it. Our vision: be the world's dominant performance optics company, trusted to outperform, out-inspire, and outlast all others in the field. That was the vision that we came up with. Now, there's about 70 other optics companies that we compete with right now. It's just crazy. You know, you all heard of the majority of them, Nikon and Zeiss and Swaro and Bushnell, but there's a whole bunch more that are out there besides that. So we're in a competitive market that's highly promotional, and we're working mainly against competitors that are Asian products manufactured. And we want to be a world-class American manufacturing company. It was after we came up with this vision that he came into my office and said, this is what we need, this is what your challenge is. And it's not easy because we have different issues, those headwinds I was talking about. They hit an American manufacturing company a little differently than they hit Chinese manufacturers, Philippine manufacturers, and so on. But it doesn't mean we can't compete. We just have to compete differently. We have to compete with the creativity of the teams that we have in place, with our leadership. It's different. So from this vision, the question for me was, well, what's that mean to the organization? What's needed? And I just backed up and said, we need enterprise-wide C²V leadership. We need to create a culture and an environment where our people are thriving. We need to always pursue excellence in everything that we do. Make something new happen. Coach, teach, develop. We need creative benefit. That's creative benefit's the thing that's going to move us forward and allow us to dominate in our business. Because without it, we're going to be status quo. We're going to be incremental. We're going to be fighting against those odds without the biggest strength that we have. The greatest strength we have is our people in the organization. And we walk by that value every single day, trying to solve some problem on our own because we haven't slowed down to really understand that this value is in front of us and that we need to work with it. So this is the piece that I went to work on for my division, which is manufacturing and global supply chain. So the idea of a world-class American manufacturing company, I recognized that I needed to start with a vision and then cascade those visions down through the leaders that reported to me, so that we had top to bottom alignment. We had to have conversations about some things that we hadn't talked about. Leupold Stevens has been and still is working out of being a traditional batch and queue manufacturing company. And those of you that know me might understand that's not my vision for the company. I'm interested in shortest lead times, highest quality, lowest cost, flow production, one-by-one manufacturing. Those are the ideas and the concepts that I wanted to put in place in the organization. So I'm going to share with you one example of each as we go through here. But before I do so, my challenge to my team when I first got to Leupold Stevens was, I need you all to create a vision of your departments, what it looks like if they were running wildly successful and competitive. So while I was at Climax, I did the same thing. Climax Portable Machine Tools out in Newbury. I worked there for 7 years. Similar challenge for me to create a world-class production system. I challenged my leaders out there to do this after I had created this vision at Climax, a production system vision. And they struggled to figure out, what are you asking me to do here, Scott? I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me to do this. And I realized that as leaders, people don't generally walk into your office and say, hey, if you could do this any way you wanted to do it, how would you do it? Forget the way we do it today. With these goals, with this idea of where we need to go, what would it look like to you? And that's what I was asking them to do, basically. Create something brand new that didn't exist. So I'm going to walk through this process with you. But know this, when I got to Leupold Stevens and I rolled this out, I had failed to create my own production system vision. This top line, I'd failed to do that. And yet I was asking my team to create their visions. I was like, okay, back that train up, start over. I went to work on creating that vision, which I'll show you using the same process that I'm going to walk through. and worked with my team to create it. It took about a year. It wasn't easy work, and I'll break it down for you and share that with you. But again, the aha is most managers, most leaders are never asked to tell you what they really think of what world-class looks like to them, what wildly successful and competitive looks like to them. So let's begin with this stepped process. It begins with the design of the vision. And basically, those of you that have been in continuous improvement for a long time, you just dig into the current state. What's the demand? What are the demand streams? What are the sequences that matter? What's the percentages and the breakdowns of the company that we're working on? What's the one that we want to focus on? Where are the big issues that we're trying to solve and the work that we're going to commit our people to solving? And you get in this process, and as the leader in the area, if you're striving for excellence, it gives you the voice in the conversation with which to start teaching and coaching about the changes that you want to make from that current state into that future state design that you're working on. It's a great conversation, and that alone is so valuable. The next step is, if you created something new, you're going to have some new roles. What are those new roles? What do they look like? I was talking to some folks this morning about total productive maintenance, TPM. Part of my vision for our factory is to have total productive maintenance system that puts in autonomous maintenance and OEE measurements to see how well you're working your equipment. Looks at the critical spare parts that are necessary. Guess what? We don't have that skill set. That's a new role. So I had to look at that. SPC was another one, a new role. We make 250,000 units a week of a miscellaneous of cylindrical parts. It's a great application for statistical process control. And that's new, and that's where I want to go, and that's the kind of stuff that I had an opportunity to talk to. But it was a new role for the organization, and believe me, since I've been there in 3 years, we've shifted roles. We're aligning the organization to the vision that's in place now. And it's making a big difference on how we're communicating up and down and the results that we're getting. The next step in this process is to take a look at the tasks then. What are the tasks? What are we reporting? What are we measuring? How are we getting it done? Who's responsible? Where are the handoffs? Inputs, outputs, process kind of level of information. And once we've done that, we have a discussion on the skill sets. Do we have the skill sets to accomplish that work? Those tasks, those roles? If not, do we go out and hire it? Do we develop it inside? Let's create a plan to get the work done, which is the last step. Put together a plan. I like to say when we're done with this, we have maps, metrics, and plans. And Steve Allen, brand new individual, he's here today in our organization as senior manager of our procurement team. He's just had this conversation with me. I've just challenged him. Hey, what's it look like to you? If you're going to create a procurement team that's world class, what are you going to do? How are you going to measure it? What's your plan to get there? So this is a process of creating the vision that I think is repeatable over time. And it employs the idea of catchball. So up and down the line, conversations are had. We work as a team to create this. It's not I'm creating it in my office and then I just go out and direct people to accomplish it. That would never work. Although it did start with me, and it is in fact my design and my architecture, but it's been changed and morphed many times by the additions and the opportunities that other people saw through this concept of catchball, which is an important consensus building tool and ownership sharing tool. It's no longer my vision, it's our vision. And when you get to that point, people get behind it. You don't have to ask them to go to work on it. They get behind it on their own.